Well, hello there, folks. I did say earlier today in my very first posting, when I rambled and rambled and rambled on, I did say I was going to cover a couple of people on that there YouTube who I've listened to in the past. One who I could say I sort of follow, sort of. One I don't really follow at all and don't particularly like, although the one I don't follow at all, I've seen a bit more of his content, and the reason for that is he throws 2 or 3 vids out every single day. And I listen to, what I tend to do with him is he does 3 and 4 minute videos. I'll put the first 30 to 60 seconds on, then I'll come out of it. I just want to get the tone of it and what he's talking about and how he looks at things. The other fella does about 12 to 15 minute videos and does one every few days. And normally I'll watch his whole video. Sometimes I'll do what I did last night. He did a 15 minute one last night, and I flicked through a couple of bits of it. I got the gist of it all, and probably of the 15 minutes watched about 7. Now I'm going to gain a bit of grief off one of the guys here. They both have a decent sized following, one a big following, one reasonably big, both much bigger than mine. And people jump on you when you say things that they don't like. That won't bother me. It never ever has done. I always say what I think and what I believe to be the truth in my eyes. It may be wrong. It may be wrong in many people's eyes, but it's what I believe in. But this guy's got the biggest following, the one I will go with first. And it amazes me as to why he has. Because I don't think he's the nicest person in the world, but I could be wrong, as I don't know him well. I'm going to be accused of having a pox. I'm going to be accused of being racist, I would have thought, because his skin colour's a little bit different than mine. That doesn't bother me at all. Those that have followed the channel for the last 6 months will know that 100%. It doesn't bother me. There's plenty of people I like of all races, plenty. There's loads I don't, but plenty that I do. Anyway, both of these people have been covering the conflict recently, the conflict in Iran and Palestine, in the Gaza there. Well, I say both of them. The second guy I'm going to go to hasn't covered it as much, but he's had some things to say over the last day or so, I think. I'm talking crap. He hasn't. He's been talking about Andrew and William. That's what he's been talking about. I do apologise. I've took the garden path there, viewers. I am sorry. But anyway, both of these have been talking about Harry and William over the last couple of days. We'll go with the first one first. It's a guy called, I don't want to get his name wrong, I don't want to be accused of, what's his name? It's Murad something, I think. Murad Murali. Murad Murali. Yeah, he's got 100,000 subscribers, which surprises me, because I personally don't think he's that good. But then again, many people won't think I'm that good, and if he was to watch this channel, I'm sure he would think I'm not that good. I'm certain his followers would think I'm not that good, but that's opinion. We've all got them, as I say. But the reason I'm not keen on Murad is, I think he's got so many followers. I think one of the reasons is because he does a lot to do with Love Island and those kind of shows. I think he produces 1 or 2 videos every night about Love Island. Well, that's not the kind of dross I watch. I'm never going to watch that. We're on a totally different page there. But when you watch them kind of shows and comment on them, you do get lots of followings on all platforms, I believe. But as I say, that isn't for me. But that's where we differ. He does a lot of stuff that I do, things like the Philip Schofield, the Dan Wooten, and so on and so forth. And to that end, he was doing stuff over the last couple of days on Dan Wooten regarding the story I did earlier about Prince William, Prince Harry, and the person who we believe works for Prince William that's got a good few quid from Dan Wooten for selling stories, which many have said have drove Harry and Meghan out of the country and away from his own brother and father because of these stories, which really has Dan Wooten's puppet mastered on and ran the narratives and he split the family. Oh, that's what this guy was saying. That really, to an extent, is what the next guy is saying, who I'll go on to next. But we'll start with Murad. I don't like him. I'll tell you why I don't like him. I don't think he's possibly the nicest person in the world. I may be wrong. I think he's a pretty hateful person. Again, I may be wrong. He's a very sensitive person, or sensitive to anybody saying anything to himself from what I can see, but insensitive when he says other things about other people, and very much so, I think, there. But the biggest thing I have against him is he sensationalises absolutely everything, and he blows everything up. He has his own theories on most everything, but the wild and the wacky, and it's just to create interest, I believe, and just to, not even to get people talking, just to make him stand out. most of his thoughts and theories and things he says don't come to fruition, so he's wide of the map most all of the time. One of the things I particularly don't like about him is, and I'm not calling him because of his race or because of how he's been taught and brought up and whatever else, but one of the things I don't like is he uses the wrong words in all the wrong places, and I mean on a regular basis. If he does a 3-minute video, he'll pick 5 or 6 difficult words, or maybe 8 or 10, and I say we'll go 8 to 10, of them 8 to 10, 4 or 5 of them he puts in the wrong sentences. They just don't go. They're all wrong. From time to time, I've listened to myself back with the odd video I've done, and I've thought, I shouldn't have said that word there. That's the wrong word. I've put it, but I don't re-record it. I'll leave it. But I'll do one every now and again. I know I drop T's, I drop H's, I drop G's, I drop things. I know that, you know. But I try to talk reasonable English whenever I can, and I try to talk the Queen's whenever I can. But I get things wrong. We all do. We all get lazy. It's a long time since school. But he just does so many words and they're wrong, and it makes him sound absolutely stupid. And I'm thinking, well, if you don't know what the words mean, don't put them in there. Just don't put them in there. He's had a campaign against Piers Morgan for the last week or so. There's been somebody from the Palestinian side on Morgan's show on almost a nightly basis, and he's saying, and he obliterated Morgan, and he battered Morgan, and he made Morgan seem bad. And I'm not all over Piers Morgan. I didn't mind him on GMB at a time. I think he was wrong with what he did with the Meghan Markle thing, and I think he went too far with the presenter, the guy that was on there. Was it Beresford? Maybe it wasn't, but I think he went too far with I think it was the weatherman on there. The walk-off was silly. He's done some things wrong. He loves giving criticism, Piers, but he's not as good at taking it. I think he's been wrong with everything he's said about Eric Ten Hag and backing his mate Cristiano Ronaldo. And I've said all that on air before. But he's pretty good at his job. These things he does well. And I don't believe for 1 minute, for all I've not seen the interviews, that everybody from Palestine that's been on there with Morgan has battered Morgan and made Morgan look awful and made him look racist and made him look this, that and the other, which Murali has said he's done. I think Murali's just on the side of these people because the Palestinian, and he is himself, I think he's what's the word? Arab himself. I think he's Arab. I don't know for sure. But he's calling GB News how they're conducting themselves, and especially Piers Morgan. He's saying the people from Palestine aren't getting enough time on there. He's saying at the outset they interviewed somebody from Israel and they got, say, 40 minutes, and the Palestinians are only getting 20 and 25 minutes each. I mean, he's forgetting the fact that the Palestinians have had somebody on for the last 3, 4 or 5 nights, where Israel, I think, had somebody on for 1 night, but I might be wrong because I've not been watching it. I have heard on TalkSport, and it's a totally different entities, but I've heard Simon Jordan say he's seen a few of these interviews with Morgan and these Palestinians, and he thinks they've been great, and he thinks that Morgan's more than held his own. Well, I would suggest if Simon Jordan's saying that, I think I'd be more on the side of Simon Jordan than this Murad Murali, but I might be wrong. But this Murad Murali really, I thought, shown his true colours of about 2-3 weeks ago now. Turns out he comes on one day and says, I've had a very bad day, I've had a lot of bad luck, I'm very unhappy, one of my sponsors has pulled the rug from under me, they've done this to me, they've done that to me, I'm not going to say who they are, but it's costing me money, and they've done it just because I'm back in Palestine and I'm saying a lot about the Palestinians and I'm against the Israelis, and you should be allowed free speech and they shouldn't have pulled it on me, blah, 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 blah. And a phrase he kept using was, which I didn't like, but I don't get it at all, he'll know it, go and suck your mum. I don't know what he wanted him to suck or where he wanted him to suck, but he kept saying, and they pulled it, well, go and suck your mum. And anybody that doesn't listen to me, that's on the side of the Israelis, can go and suck your mum. And he must have said it about 10 times in 3 minutes. And I thought, this guy's got some hatred in him, there's no doubt about that. Now, the thing is, what I will say is this. The Israelis have the circled Gaza. I mean, people can't get out. The Palestinians can't get out. I know that. I know all of that. And I know they need aid. They're letting it in now, but I know not enough's getting in there. I know they've told Palestinians to move to wherever. And I believe from last night's TV, even when they've moved to where they've moved, it's still getting bombed. I get all of that. And I get a lot of what's happening now is wrong. And I get a lot that's happening now is not so much that it's wrong, that it'd be great if they wasn't doing it, that it would be great if they give some respite to the Palestinians, especially the innocents. When all said and done, it's Hamas they're after. It's not after the men, women and children there. And men, women and children are dying. And it's an awful, awful, awful shame. I've got no problem with this Murad Murali, if I've said it right, if they are his people or they are his race. backing them. I've got no problem at all. I've got no problem with him saying that they should move away and they should leave them alone. I've got no problem with all of that. I've got no problem with him calling the Israelis or calling Jewish people. I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem with any of that. What I've got a problem with is Hamas went in there, started all this, and indiscriminately killed men, women and children. We heard stories of babies being beheaded. That got changed then to throat slit. I've not heard much more about that since. But that in itself is just unbelievable. What is killing them men, women and children done to help their cause? It's done nothing at all, and it's outraged the world, or a lot of the world. Now, had he initially said what Hamas did was wrong, and I'm not in their camp, and I'm not with it, and I'm totally against it, I'd have had some sympathy for him. Especially if then he flipped it and saying what the Israelis are doing now, constantly bombing Palestine and Gaza, and constantly bombing, and men, women and children dying is wrong, I'd be with him. If he could see both sides, I'd be with him. Now, he did say, and I keep saying a political animal or a historian, I do believe the Palestinians they've had a small space to live in, and I believe they've been there for 70 years and probably being oppressed and they can't get out of that and whatever. I get all of that. I don't know the full whys and wherefore, so I can't comment. So I can understand, though, the Palestinians and Hamas on their behalf having issues and being unhappy and whatever else. Can see them wanting to get out of there, can see them maybe even wanting to hurt Israel. But they should have hurt Israel for me, although probably Hamas is much, much smaller than the Israeli army. I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing it is. I'm guessing the Israeli army's got a lot more money and a lot more weapons than Hamas, but they should have gone for the Israeli troops. They should have gone for troops, because it's troops against troops. That's what they're employed to do, the troops. They should not have gone for men, women and children. And not only have they killed men, women and children with indiscriminate fire and bombs, they've actually slit throats and so on and so forth, and then took over 200 hostages. That's not the way to do things. Or I wouldn't have thought it is. So I think Murad was wrong, and then, funnily enough, I was looking for that video today because I couldn't remember what he kept saying. I knew he kept saying something when I watched it 2 weeks ago. What did he say it was? Yeah, go and suck your mum. And I found another video accidentally. And in this one, he was doing the old go and suck your mum again all the way through it. And I'm thinking, well, that's two videos where he's asked people to go and suck their mums. I don't know if he means Jewish people, us, anybody that don't like him. I don't know what he meant, but I thought, that man's got a problem. But I read something about him about 2 months ago, because I thought, how's this guy got this many followers? And I realise it's to do with Love Island, but I read something about him somewhere, and I think had he been a male escort or something, and he was doing something with feet, or people were doing something, and I don't know what it'd been, but maybe he's had a hard time, but he's calling Schofield and what have you for going with a younger person, because he was younger himself. But I think a lot of the things he did and he got involved in, I think from what I read, he was party to at the time and happy to do. But anyway, I'm digging up all stuff that I don't know a lot about, so I'll leave that. Let me get on to the person that I like. There's another person that I've watched on there, and I've only seen him probably over the last 2 months. And he's covered things like Schofield, and he's covered a lot to do with Dan Wootton, a lot to do with this Byline Times. But he talks, like I've tried to do this time, I've tried to talk slower and tried to talk a little bit more so you can understand me, because I know I talk too quickly and I know I ramble on and whatever. I've tried to be a bit more, dare I say, what would the word be, professional than I normally am, because I just normally just go, I don't have a script and I just waffle on and waffle on. I've tried to be a little bit more professional, maybe to try and come across a bit more level-headed, because I know at the end of this I'm going to get some people not liking what I've said, because they're going to be supporters of this MURAD MURALI. If they see the thing, that is. I'm not going to go out there and let them know I've done it. I'm not going to let him know I've done it, but if anybody does see it, I think there's going to be people not liking me for it, but that's just life. That's the way it goes. We'll go to the other fella next anyway. As I said, this is a fellow I like. He talks a lot slower. He's a lot more sensible. He does work, I think, from a script. A lot of it he's wrote down there. It's things from Byline Times. And he tells people what's happening in Byline Times, because many of us have heard things. We hear them second-hand from the newspapers or from the TV or mainly from YouTube. But we don't read Byline Times as such. I don't. I never go on there. It's never a website I've ever been to. Anyway, I'll go to this guy. I like this guy. I don't know. There's just something about him I like. I don't know what it is, but I like him. I think he's pretty level-headed. Much of what he says is fact. Well, he's reading from something that's been written, so it's fact in Byline Times' eyes. He's only reading what's out there, but he's keeping people abreast of what's happening in Byline Times and what have you. But he's also had some interactions with GB News himself. When Wootton was there and done all these things he did and never got sacked, he's been back and forth with people at GB News asking why and trying to get facts and to the bottom of things for his viewers. He's got about 30,000 subscribers, I think, whereas Morali's got 120. So he's a lot smaller in viewership. He's a bit bigger in build. Don't mean it in a bad way. But he's a nice fellow, I like him, and he's called, what's he called? Come Geek Some. What all that's about, I just don't know. But Come Geek Some. I seen him do a bit of a video a few weeks ago with a couple of people from Australia we know, who I believe he'd been doing a lot with when COVID was on, was all in lockdown. And I found one of them videos entertaining. They were just talking about things in general. I can't think what it was, but I found it pretty entertaining. And I just like him. I just really like him. I think everything he says is spot on. I think he gives his own opinion and gives an opinion on it as well. But I don't think there's anything he's ever said yet that I've probably disagreed with. I think he's pretty much on the money, pretty much on the ball. And I like the fella. As I say, totally different to myself. You know, he talks with a lot more authority. He comes across as a lot cleverer. I'm doing myself down there. He's probably not really. But the stuff he reads is spot on. The way he presents it is spot on. He's just very professional, and I like him. And I think where the other fella isn't professional at all, I think, was it Come Geek Some, did I say? I think it was. Is it Come Geek Some? Wait a minute. Yeah, Come Geek Some. I think he's great. I really do, and I can understand why he's got 30,000 subscribers. Can't understand, as I say, why the other guy's got over 100, but I can understand why this guy's got 30, and I hope he gets more. I like him. I think he's really, really good. And that's it from me. They've both given the same news out over the last day or so, but doing it completely differently. And I think the better is the latter, who is a lot smaller subscription-wise, but I think a lot better in how he delivers and what he does. And that's just my opinion, and I'm just giving you some things that I've watched from time to time on the old YouTube, and how I view things. If you've seen the first video I put out earlier today, and I mean much earlier today, I'm going to do it over Christmas time with all these Tenerife and Benidorm vloggers, because of reasons I put in the earlier video. I'm not going to go through it now, but if you want to see, it was the first one I did today. It was Let's Talk, or something that ilk. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much.